Hello viewers, today we will discuss isospin algebra. Now as we know that isospin obeyed the same algebra as angular momentum, these isospin obeyed the same algebra as angular momentum. So algebra obeyed by, algebra obeyed by T1, T2, T3, which are of T isospin operator, can be inferred by properties and commutation relation of the spin operator. So what is basically from the previous chapter we know that isospin obeyed the same algebra as angular momentum. So the algebra followed by this component of isospin T1, T2, T3 can be concluded by the properties and the commutation relation of the spin operator. Now, as we know that spin operator was constructed with the help of Pauli matrices, we can do the same procedure here also, as we constructed the spin operator from Pauli matrices. The same can be done here. So our isospin here can be denoted as T operator is equals to half tau, where tau are the matrices here for the isospin. Let's say tau 1 is equals to 0, 1, 1, 0, as same as we did for the evaluation of the spin operator. We used the Pauli matrices. So and tau 2 is equals to 0 minus eta 0. Tau 3 is equals to 1, 0, 0, minus 1. Okay, and as they follow the same commutation relationship, so T1, T2 gives us I T3, and T2, T3 gives us I T1, and so on. They follow the cyclic property, obviously. So we know that nucleon exists in two states, either in neutron, either in proton. So we have two different states. So when T3, which is the third component of the isospin, when acts on the nucleon, it will gives us the eigenvalue plus minus half. Whereas per by the convention, plus half is for proton and minus half is for neutron. Now denoting the states of proton and neutron as T half, T3, which is equals to plus half for proton, and this is equals to 1, 0, and for neutron this is equals to T half, T3 minus half, which is equals to 0, 1. Okay, so when T3 acts on, T3 operator acts on proton eigenket, then T3 operator, which is equals to tau by 2, tau 3 by 2, and tau 3 is equals to 1, 0, 0, minus 1. When acts on proton is 1, 0 column element, which will gives us on evaluation half, 1, 0. And same as when you do for T3 of neutron, it will give you minus half of 0, 1. Now you can also write this 1, 0 in the style of half-half, which are the eigen cats of proton. Now, by the analogy of angular momentum, we in the angular momentum we denote for j square and jz, which having the eigencats j and m. Here, for the t square and t3 element, we have eigencats t, t3, and as they follow the same analogy here, then when t square acts on t, t3, it will gives us tt plus 1 t, t3, and when t acts on t, t3 component, it will gives us t3 t, t3. And same for this isospin, we can also introduce the lowering and raising operator. The raising operator, which is equals to t1 plus I t2, is equals to half by substituting the value tau 1 plus eta tau 2. On evaluating this, we conclude that this is equals to 0, 1, 0, 0. And t negative we can also find in the same way, minus I t2 is equals to half tau 1 minus I tau 2. And you can easily find out the value of t minus operator with the help of above matrices, and the value of this is 0, 0, 1, 0. This is a simple calculation here. So when this lowering and raising operator acts on the cats t, t3, this is equals to under root tt plus 1 minus t3 plus minus 1, with the state as when the angular in the orbital angular momentum m state change with the plus and minus 1 by the action of lowering and raising operator. Here the t3 operator will raise and lower by the value of 1. One more thing to point out here is that when t plus operator operates on neutron, this will converts into proton. You can easily identify this from this formula. And when t negative operator, means lowering operator, operates on proton, it will gives us neutron. Now in the end, let's define one more quantity definition of a charge operator. Charge operator is given as it is noted at first by q operator e t3 third component of isospin plus half. Now when this q operates on proton, it will gives us ep. This is somehow like this: when e and the t3 third component, which is equals to 1, 0, 0, minus 1, plus e by 2 when acts on p, which is 1, 0. So on calculating this, we can end up with e with 1, 0. And same you can do for when q operator operates on a neutron state, then it will gives us eigenvalue is equals to 0. Now isospin are very useful in determining whether the interaction is strong or not, just by knowing that if the isospin is conserved in that reaction or not. Let's say one reaction d plus d, which gives us alpha plus pion 0. Now if you don't know these quantities, then it's okay. We just want to know either the isospin of this is conserved or not, because if the isospin of this reaction is conserved, then this reaction is strong reaction. The value of d here is the value of d, isospin of d and isospin of alpha is equals to 0, sorry, here plus 1, and the value of isospin this pion is equals to 1. As you know, the value of 0 plus 0, 0 is equals to 1, which is not conserved here. So this equation is forbidden here. It is also experimentally not possible since its cross section is negligible small, its cross section is negligible small. Let's see other reactions which are allowed under the conservation of isospin. Let's see this reaction P plus P, which gives us T plus pion, where the isospin of P is half and for the D is 0, and for the pion it is equals to 1. As you one add, these are totally conserved, so these are allowed reaction. And the third one for say proton and neutron, which gives us D plus pion. So when proton half and neutron minus half, and for pion 0, it will the isospin for this is 0, and for the D isospin is 0. This is also an allowed reaction because this is conserved in terms of isospin. So today we learn how the algebra of isospin and how they are useful in determining whether the reaction is feasible or not. Thank you.